memes are so powerful because rather than giving someone another sales pitch, what you're doing is making them laugh about a pain point they have in their industry, and their guard is immediately dropped.
I've had this where somebody said something on social media about me, they've believed it as fact.
Yeah.
And then even when you tell them it wasn't true and you show them it wasn't true, literally they find it hard to shake that belief. Have you seen Grok's AI?
I have.
I just don't know how we tell what's real anymore. So welcome, Tom, to the new format podcast.
Thank you.
We've kind of reverted to type with a twist, because I used to do podcasts like this for a long time, and then the efficiency of doing them virtually and not setting up the studio and doing all that stuff got in the way, and you kind of forced it to come back.
I
so
did.
Thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome.
Your mic all right there, by the way?
Yeah, it should be fine there.
Yeah. Okay, so new format podcast. Tom, you're the first one on the new format. We've gone all neon on the branding.
We have, yes. Yeah, which people will see by now.
Only the 10-3 brand this year of the podcast, but you know, it's just like, it's how do you do something that gets your vibe? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I feel like with that kind of thing, it's always the first idea that pops into your head, often the best one, but it's never the one you go with. So it's always the one that you think of first, and you go all around the houses trying to think of something else and something that's more thought about, and then you get back to square one and think, actually, no, I was right. And that's, I think, really what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, I love the kind of neon-y vibe, and I had it for a long time, and then I thought I had to be sensible.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then turned 40 and went, who cares?
Yeah, why? Yeah, who are you being sensible for?
So, new format podcast, we have a drink.
We do.
I'm sorry it's not the best drink, right?
I was going to say, if you can call it a drink.
It's a Blue Lagoon, it's vodka. It's not the best drink. But the idea is, because I love drinking cocktails, as everybody knows, I thought I would introduce a different cocktail. This was a bit improvised. I'll try to be a bit more creative in future. It's not very good either.
It's not. I've had worse. I've definitely had worse. I feel a bit like Luke Skywalker drinking blue milk, but you know, there we are.
I had an amazing cocktail in Dubai, and I liked it so much. I ordered the ingredients so I can make them at home.
That's
and it is
extra.
mango vodka and lemonade, and it's incredible.
See, I've never actually really been a cocktail man. I think it's all stemmed from being a student and then being a lot more pricey than a Wetherspoon's pint.
Although I seem to think that you liked that spicy cocktail in Atlanta, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't think I had much of a choice, given we were in a cocktail bar. But yeah, it was okay. It definitely warmed you up, which didn't need to happen in Atlanta. Really, it was warm enough. But
yeah. But anyway, enough about the cocktails. And if if people watching this don't like them, mocktails work too.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain like what you do here? Like, because you joined what, June?
May, end of May.
Right.
And so you're pretty much right. Yeah. So 6 months ago, really, just over 6 months. So I've obviously been working very closely with yourself on your content.
And you're still here?
And I'm still here, which is, the I think a personal record for you.
Yeah.
It's been good. It's been a lot of what I've been doing has been very focused on kind of just making sure we can evolve what you were doing and also consistency. Because obviously when you're as busy as you are, you don't then have the time to be posting on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and Threads and YouTube and LinkedIn. Obviously, LinkedIn was kind of your baby, and that's remained the case. But sort of every other platform, I think, has really taken a step up, if I do say so myself. But I think we've got to a point now where we're starting to find our feet with it, and we kind of know what works and what doesn't work. And obviously, by the time we crack that, it will all change, and that will no longer work. But such is the nature of the beast. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've been doing. We've done lots of short videos. Obviously, did 2 weeks in America recently. Got some good content in motel rooms, the little video shorts
yeah.
and that sort of stuff. But yeah, you got to improvise and get what you can. But yeah, it's been an absolute whirlwind considering I was doing electrical wholesale in March. Was yeah, it's a completely different world.
From electrical wholesale to social media. What a shift!
Yeah, well, there's your title.
And you survived my random hotel bookings as well in America.
Well, yeah, there was a very close call in Oklahoma because we obviously arrived at the one that you had booked, and before even we looked at the rooms, which you didn't actually allow us to do because I think you wanted to make the decision yourself. But me and Josh, I remember we was just sat in the car, and there was just various things going on in the car park. There was a double amputee working on a car, and then a man being chased by his 2 dogs.
And there was a few feral children
and
as well.
Very feral children. Yeah, that running around. It looked like the place was falling apart.
See, even though, like, I'm still who I was growing up, where like you literally don't spend any money.
Yeah.
But I think I surprised myself when we were spending $20 a night on a motel, and I went, Martin, well, you know, there's a problem when the people say, do you want to look at the rooms before you pay?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
There's no refunds.
Yeah, when the receptionist is the one that's giving you the warning, you know you're not in the best place.
So we looked at this room and it was like, oh my God, somebody's died in here. Yeah. It really was like that. Or you were going to be killed in the kind of parking lot.
Yeah, that was the vibe.
And I went, Martin, you take the key back. I'll get the car running. Yeah. So we moved on from that. But Tom, you survived that. You survived working with me for 6 months, which is, you know, a record because I'm a little bit batshit. Great to have you here. And, you know, all my socials do it. God help anybody trying to do all their socials by themselves.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody yesterday and it was like, yeah, I'm posting on here, I'm posting on here, I'm posting on here. And it was like, how are you doing? Because I can't even do this. And I teach people how to do this stuff. And I can't sustain all those channels. And they went, I'm doing 20 hours.
Yeah. 20
hours to do it all. And I'm like, oh my God. So I wouldn't be able to do it without you. So don't despair. Anyway, Jaguar. A lot of people have been ranting and raving about Jaguar on social media.
Yes.
I had a little drop my 2 cents in on it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on what Jaguar is doing?
So I mean, the question's, is it stupid or is it genius? And I don't really think there's a big middle ground here. I think it is one of the two. And I think the bottom line is you're never going to be able to sell to everyone. We all know that. Everyone knows that. But I think what Jaguar have done, they've obviously completely alienated their previous customer base.
Yeah, they're not making cars.
I don't think they care.
No, they're not making cars right now. They're not going to make any new cars till 2026. So it's like 2 years off, basically.
Yeah. And I think the cars they will be, I think they're going to go down, which is something that you said as well about going down the sort of the Bentley route of being much more high end. But I also think they're going to be going down the Tesla route of being kind of more high end on the tech spectrum as well, like in terms of if you've seen what Elon Musk has been doing with the taxis and the sort of the automated driving cars. I think that's kind of the route they're going to go down. That's going to be their target market. So
have you seen the concept?
Yeah, I have.
It does have a Bentley.
It does,
kind
yeah.
of shape
It's that
to
long
it.
bonnet sort of that sort of big rectangular shape.
Somebody said on social media that the back of it looks like an air conditioning vent.
Well, I mean, such is the fashion with modern cars, it seems. But or at least futuristic cars, as I still call them, which I suppose they're not really now. They're kind of just what's happening, but it still seems a bit mental. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Jaguars. I think they're some of the most beautiful British cars we've ever produced.
I have a love for the XJS, the old long XJS. I think they're like, I always thought about buying one, but then the whole maintenance, it's old,
it's the convenience
all that kind of
as well.
stuff.
Like you can never get anyone in it.
But I think they are like literally going, we're stopping this and we're going here.
Completely.
And they don't need the people who bought the 40, 50 grand cars. They don't really care about.
No.
Will it work? I don't know, really.
I don't know. I think if it, as I say with the question, is it genius or is it stupid? I think we'll find out in
It's-
5-10 years time.
It's kind of like they're leaving the Audi world
Yeah,
and joining the kind of Ferrari world.
yeah, completely. That's exactly what they're doing. And you know, if you look at brands like that, obviously it works for them, but there's never really been many car manufacturers who've done that and just kind of gone, do you know what, we're stopping that and we're
Yeah,
becoming
I
a
mean,
completely different brand.
if you're changing your brand, you do have to like burn your bridges almost. So if somebody was like talking to me, put it in a LinkedIn context and said, right, Dean, I'm currently catering to small businesses and I want to go after corporates.
Yeah.
And they were asking me like, what would you do on LinkedIn? I'd be like, you have to kind of make cull everything to do with small business,
Yeah.
and make everything look corporate, like literally stark, day as night. So I get what they're doing. I just don't know. I've never seen a company do this.
And so
in this
blatantly
way
as well.
And the other thing, some people are asking, well, okay, if they are doing this, why didn't they just start another brand?
Yeah. Because, I mean, plenty of car manufacturers have done that.
Yeah,
Plenty
like
of them.
Toyota brought Lexus.
Yeah.
And made Lexus, and there's somebody else that have done that. Like you've got Mercedes with Maybach.
Mhm.
So there's nothing to say you can't do it. The only thing I can think of as why they haven't is maybe it's like Jaguar's got a bit of a reputation for bad reliability now and all of that. So if they burn this bridge completely, they could basically keep the Jaguar name.
Yeah.
Like almost like you're buying the name out of, it's gone bankrupt. You're buying the name and putting it on something new.
But I wonder whether it's far off that, because I don't think Jaguar have been selling very many cars in recent years.
No, like 14,000 cars. Like
that's
Rolls Royce level output numbers.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, when you think about it, they're selling 40, 50 grand cars, but they're only selling 13,000 of them.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, a Ford, an Audi or something, they'll probably sell 100,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So maybe that's what they did. Maybe they're just preempting the inevitable that their current model is not sustainable in the long term, which I don't think it is. But
well, they're only going to do it because they think they're making more money.
Yeah, obviously that's you know, that's why anyone does anything realistically in that kind of world. But
and let's, you know, if it's got performance, if you know it looks swanky, some people might fork out 150 grand and just go, what the hell?
It becomes a statement piece, doesn't it? Rather than a
you're not going to see many in the Tesco car
No,
park,
exactly. No, they'll be crawling with them in Beverly Hills, but not many around
So
Plymouth.
somebody said to me, like, you could, like 13,000 cars. I said you could sell 13,000 of them in California.
Yeah.
And it was like, you can't just sell in one state. I went, well, Tesla's sold 300,000 Teslas in California, so like, you kind of can.
Yeah.
Okay, like, just shifting off from that weird tangent on Jaguar, like, I just wanted to say, because I've been playing with some AI tools, as you have observed.
Very aware, yeah.
Ideogram is my new favorite AI tool.
As of yesterday.
I mean, I've used it before.
Yeah.
But I've been doing all sorts of, because, you know, like my blog images, I wanted to give them a revamp, like a Jaguar transition from a cartoony to...
Yeah.
And it's incredible, like ideogram, like literally you just tell it what you want and it just makes it.
Yeah, I think there's so many AI tools now that work, and that as a sentence seems obvious, but I think even as close as 6 months ago, I don't think I could have said that with confidence, because I think when I say they work, I mean they do exactly what you want them to do, and you can't, like a lot of the stuff we were producing yesterday didn't look like AI.
No.
Really. Like, obviously, when you know it is, you can tell if you look close enough. But 6 months to a year ago, you'd produce an AI image and there would be like, I don't know, someone would have a hand missing, or there would be some lines wouldn't match up. Yes, yeah. So it would be quite obvious what was AI and what wasn't, as close as 6 months to a year ago. But now we're really getting to the point where you can't tell.
Do you know, I was talking to Vasco before. Have you seen Grok's AI?
I have.
So literally, I've been playing with Grok's AI because Elon Musk's allowed you to actually make AIs of people who you're known. And I did one like Joe Biden dressed as a ballerina, and it was incredibly good. And then I did Keir Starmer dressed as a clown, and it's like,
of course,
like you can literally. I did Donald Trump kissing Elon Musk.
Also makes sense.
But they're really like some of them. You can tell it's like a bit oil painting-y.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, like the Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage and characters on their own, it's like it could be a picture of them.
Mm.
It's like really, really scary. And I just don't know how we tell what's real anymore.
Yeah, I think we're really getting to the point now where it's going to be, as I was saying about 6 months to a year ago, where we were, where are we going to be in a year's time? It's going to be almost completely indistinguishable. And that is both from a content perspective, really exciting, and from like a personal perspective,
from a humanity,
terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, like you did a post. We'll not say which one and see if people can find it. But you did a video of me that was totally 100% AI, AI voice, AI video clone of me. Put it up, and it's one of the best performing videos of me.
Yeah, which I mean, what does that say about you, really? I mean, that's the question.
So, Tom, it's been great having you for 6 months.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is scary because obviously we can tell because we know, and when you know, you're kind of looking for it. But I showed my fiance after I'd finished editing the video. I showed her, and turned around to her and said, "None of that's real." And she went, "What do you mean?" I went, "That's all AI." And she went, "What? Even Dean talking?" I went, "Yes. His face, his voice, everything is AI." She could not believe it.
Yes.
In fact, she did not believe it to start with. So it just shows that it's from someone who's not been involved in the actual process of making that piece of content. It's completely indistinguishable already.
I do wonder though, like, I wonder whether people, because obviously we're in this bubble, like we could look at something and go, I think that's AI.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, like, because there's a stat apparently about 16% of the world's population are using AI in their day-to-day.
Yeah.
So like 16%. So that's not a lot of people,
Not
really.
at all.
It's like a billion people-ish on the planet. I do wonder, like, the other 83.333%, whether they can see like what's AI and what's not.
I would highly doubt it, and I'd also like to see how many people are using AI to the extent that we have, or to its full extent, or well, not its full extent because we don't even know what that is really.
Yeah.
But to the point where you're actually using it for most things that you do, and you can use it to a point where it's producing a lot of your content, because there's people that use it for comments, and I always think that the spoken word is, if you ask it to write a script or if you ask it to actually write text, it takes a lot more training. But in terms of image generation, like it's so indistinguishable for someone who doesn't know anything about AI. Like there's no way they'd be able to tell. And as I was saying, my fiance is pretty well adversed in sort of that kind of world as well. She consumes a lot of content. You'd think she'd be able to tell, but it was just that good.
I saw a YouTube live and it was really bad AI. And it was Elon Musk stood on a stage, and literally it was a live saying, if you send $10 to this account, I will refund you with triple that in Bitcoin.
Crazy.
And you could tell, right? You could tell. And I don't know how much of it was real and engineered, but there was comments of people saying, "I'm sending it," and all this kind of stuff. And I was looking at it and going, "Yeah, is the mouth sinking and all that kind of, the way his mouth was moving wasn't natural." But I do wonder how many people fall for that stuff.
I would go as far as saying most people.
But then, like, social media, right? You put something on social media. Sometimes people, once somebody believes something, like I've had this where somebody said something on social media about me, they've believed it as fact.
Yeah.
And then even when you tell them it wasn't true and you show them it wasn't true, literally they find it hard to shake that belief.
Yeah, and I think that the key thing with that is, is the saying as old as time, seeing is believing. And now it isn't necessarily, or it shouldn't be, because
I mean, we could go upstairs right now. It'd be a little bit naughty to do this, but we could do it if we wanted to. We've got the technology to do it. We could get Keir Starmer's image and put words in his mouth that, fuck the British public.
Yeah.
We're going to tax them, take their houses away from them, leave them poor, and we're going to enrich ourselves. You could make that video. It would go around the internet, and some people would believe it.
Of course they would. A lot of people would believe it, and I think especially with sort of the social media environment, when you get political, the people who are kind of don't really have an opinion stay quiet. So the people that will jump on that are the people who already hate the man and will kind of want to believe it, even if they know it's not real. So
it feels true.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where we are now, isn't it? A lot of the time and AI is going to make it worse, I think. It feels true.
Yeah, it feels like something he would say. And therefore it's real in their minds.
Ignoring politics aside, just parking politics for a minute, because we don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But I think in the UK, at least, Nigel Farage is kind of benefiting from the fact that it feels like politicians don't care.
Yeah, of course.
Like, there's been some crazy immigration stats thrown out there. Everybody's feeling worse for wear because of inflation. The economy's not feeling great. And Nigel Farage is riding high. And people think he's the answer. I don't know whether he is the answer, but recently, like Elon Musk has said, I don't even know if it's true, actually.
Well,
I nearly said Elon Musk said, but actually I was falling for it because he hasn't actually said. It's other people saying that he's considering this, that he'd give $100 million to reform.
Yeah.
Which, whatever your politics about that, I think it's, well, I have an opinion. Well, I mean, have you tracked this story?
I have, yeah. And I'm on Twitter, or X, as I suppose we should call it. And I think if your algorithm is the way that it is because you're remotely interested in politics, there's no way you haven't followed it. Because when the man who owns the platform you're on is tweeting about reform, you're going to see it. And I don't even follow the guy. Like, I unfollowed Elon Musk because every post I saw was from him.
So on that, I watch a few different news outlets because, like some of them you can't, it's all slanted.
Yeah.
And I was listening to something or watching something on MSNBC where they were saying Elon Musk rigged the X algorithm to promote him and Trump. I don't know whether it's true, but I can certainly see why people would think it's true because he was everywhere across X.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two sides to that. I think one is that it, again, feels like something he would do, and therefore a lot of people could believe that as fact. Surely there's some form of legal obligation to not do that.
There isn't.
There isn't. There should be, in my opinion.
Because I don't know whether you remember, and we're not getting political, but when the whole Hunter Biden story came out about him apparently leaving his laptop, Meta and Twitter then blocked any of those stories going out because they said it was misinformation, which turned out to be it was his whether what was on the laptop was true, who knows? But it was his laptop. But they blocked the story.
Yeah, well, I mean it's just censorship at this point, isn't it? But I suppose I get why. There's a lot of, especially with Twitter, things can spiral from a sort of a headline and then the story's all fabricated. It's just stemmed from a true statement.
Yeah,
that happens all the time. But then the other aspect of sort of the Elon Musk thing as well, that it's his platform. It's a free country. You can say what you want to say. Like that's the argument, isn't it? Which difficult to disagree with.
In one sense, some people this guy got really angry with me when I commented about this 100 million thing on Twitter because I was like, I think it might be a good thing if he gives reform $100 million. And I'll tell you why. Right? I'm not meaning because of reform. For decades, party funding has been a bit murky.
Yeah.
You've got billionaires and subsidiary companies of billionaires who have donated to the two main parties. And for as long as that's happened, they have not wanted to clean up what level of influence. And there's been loads of scandals of people giving money from dodgy places, even though there's rules. Like, it doesn't break the rules, but there is another level of this guy's just been convicted and his company's been giving you millions for years.
Doesn't break the rules, it bends them.
Or at least makes what you think is ethical,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't break the letter of the law. And so this has been happening for like decades. Like, you know, to use a right-wing conspiracy theorist, George Soros's, subsidiaries have funded left-leaning parties in the UK through companies, British companies, and you've had some more extreme people funding through British companies. So basically, if I'm a billionaire in America and I've got a British company, I could pump money into the political system through my company.
Yeah.
Right? So that's been happening for years. I think if he did do this, he'd have to funnel it through one of his companies. I'm sure he's got a British company here somewhere. He'd put 100 million in. I reckon the Conservatives and Labour would immediately propose to clean up party funding and put legislation through Parliament to clean it up, like overnight.
I mean,
because it's in their interest to clean up the funding and prevent these big influences. But at the moment, obviously, it's not on that scale. There's nobody putting that level of money into British politics like Elon Musk might or may have suggested or thought of doing. But as soon as he does that, they will want to stop that.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't thought of it from that angle. I kind of, I suppose, was somewhat two-dimensional with it and kind of just saw 100 million and the dollar bills in Nigel Farage's eyes and thought about how terrifying that could be. But I think you're right. There's a lot of political reform that needs to happen in the UK in a lot of different kind of avenues for a lot of different reasons. And I suppose if that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, then there we go. That that might be something to do it, but that would need to be done before Nigel Farage got his hands on $100 million.
Yeah, well, they would know it's incoming.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Electoral Commission, so they could go, right, let's cross-party.
Yeah.
Let's drop party political stuff and let's unite, because both of them would be interested. Then it's in their interest to stop this happening, because how are they going to compete?
Yeah.
So it's like, let's change the rules now because it suits us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's my little rant over.
Yeah, I think it's plausible. One, Elon Musk is now a part of the American government.
Yeah.
So that has different implications.
And he's everywhere. Like Donald Trump was in France at the opening of Notre Dame Cathedral. And there was Elon Musk. And I'm like, he's like his little shadow now.
I've seen people saying he's going to move into the White House. I don't know if they're going to share a bed or something, but he's everywhere with him. They're the best mates, it seems, all of a sudden.
And somebody said, does anybody know what happened to JD Vance?
Yeah.
He's like invisible.
Yeah, I mean, he may as well be his VP at this point. Like in terms of like the rallies and everything else. I know JD Vance was making a lot of noise to start with, but as soon as Elon Musk really got onto the stage, Trump dropped him like an old toy. It's I think the fact that he's part of the American government will mean in some way that he can't end up spending $100 million into an opposition party in the UK, because that seems crazy when you put it like that.
I do wonder though, part of it I think is just, Keir Starmer and him have had a war of words.
Yeah.
And I think somebody said he'd do it just to say F you to Keir Starmer.
Well, yeah. And again, it's one of those things where you would say, well, that will never happen. But then there's so many things that Elon Musk has done that you would have said.
I'm going to give him $1 million a day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then he did. I mean, I'm going to catch a rocket with chopsticks. And he did that as well. So I mean, there's not really much that he says he'll do that he won't. So if he has said that, I would take it quite seriously.
So let's divert away from politics before we get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah.
Or get trolled or something. 6 months down the line, what's changed in terms of the content that you're seeing we're putting out? What do you think are the things that have... Let's not talk LinkedIn for a minute. Instagram's got really difficult.
Yeah.
It used to be really easy and straightforward, and now it's tough. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, those 3 channels, it's the same type of format, but they all work differently. What have you kind of noticed about those 3?
So Instagram is, I think the issue with Instagram is that someone does something else and they will try and copy it. So that happened 8 years ago when Snapchat first sort of came onto the scene and they had stories. Instagram followed that straight away. and now stories are a huge part of Instagram. They're massive. And then TikTok comes into the scene, and then Instagram Reels are born, and it's a lot of copying, and it's a lot of I don't know exactly how the Instagram algorithms work, but it's definitely different to the other platforms, and I think due to TikTok's success, everything on Instagram is going very heavy. They're putting all their eggs in one basket of Reels, and that's why I think we've made the decision with your Instagram to go very heavy on the Reels side of things, and it has worked. It's definitely it's definitely going better than it was, but it's not as easy to hook a viral concept or a story. Or anything like it is on TikTok. On TikTok, you can talk about anything that's in the news and you will get views. It doesn't really matter what you say. We've obviously taken the stance of asking questions rather than giving answers, because
I don't know.
Yeah, we started with that. We started with that, and that was kind of the initial plan, was to give other people the platform to sort of comment on. And obviously, our first proper big one that was kind of made organically was just a meme, and that was a meme about the UK riots.
Is that the first one?
Well, there was the Oasis one as well, but that was so much jumping on a trend. But I mean, you can't do that on Instagram so much. Like,
No.
you'll get an upturn in views, but nothing to write home about. But
It seems to be like jumping on like trending sounds on Instagram.
Yeah, and that does work a little bit, but again, it's not like it is with TikTok. Like with the Oasis one, we made one meme, and we went from getting a consistent 200, 300 views, with every video that we posted. And it went from that, and we got, I think, 140,000 views overnight. But then the interesting thing with that is that when we then posted our sort of regular content about sort of LinkedIn and content creation, social selling,
the less viral stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that you wouldn't expect to go as viral as quickly because it's not talking about anything trending. That stuff then sort of set a new baseline of around sort of 600 to 700 views, which is kind of still where we are. Like, if we get 700 views now, it's like, okay, that one obviously hasn't.
700 is the new 200.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think, what we've seen is that's because we've had some big ones, and obviously we've had a whole handful of big ones now. Obviously, the one about the UK riots was just Walter White beating up a Greggs. I found it funny and thought we'll try that, and it got about the same, I think, if not slightly more than the Oasis one. I'm not sure. And any sort of global situation that happens, obviously you can't be sat there praying for the worst to happen.
No, but you need to kind of, I think you either have to find something that people are intensely interested in, or you can create a reaction, like an emotion, laughter.
Yeah, like with the UK riots one, obviously there were so many opinions, and we saw all of them in the comments from every angle. Some of them ridiculous, some of them valid.
I got beat up, and abused by both sides of the riots.
Yeah, and that's because you gave them a platform. Yeah, because I think if you give people a platform, as I said earlier, like, the people who are most passionate and the most sort of extreme on either end are going to be the ones who are the loudest. If there wasn't really many comments, and we had hundreds of comments on this video, so there's always going to be one or two, but there was only one or two of people going, I get the anger, but it's also a ridiculous way to show it. Like, what's this going to benefit? You're costing your own sort of you spend government money. Like, what's the benefit of doing this? I get the frustration, though. The comments we had were, set the whole country on fire, or lock all of these people up for life. Yeah, that was the two comments that we had repeatedly.
I think that's a common thing, though, isn't it? Like, it's frustrating because I would classify myself as somewhere in the middle on a lot of political issues, and somewhere in the middle a lot of life issues, and pragmatic about how you use social media.
Yeah.
But nobody cares about being in the middle.
No, you can't sort of, you can't enjoy the garden if you sit on the fence. That's kind of people's argument. And
but that's like true. I think what I've seen over the last 6 months is, the more I take a stand on something, or the more I curate something that people are really interested in, the easier it is.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of doing the kind of like reasonable person content. Like, you could do this or you could do that, when I should be saying, don't do this. do that.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's because you go, like, as you kind of develop, you go, actually, there's more than one way to do things.
100%.
But people are looking to you to say, how do you think it should be done?
Yeah.
And that kind of reasonableness of, well, you could do that way, you could do that way, kind of just gets you run over.
Yeah.
For somebody going, the other way is dead.
Yeah.
It's this way.
Because you'll get that. You'll get the next video will be some topless guy in Dubai telling you A to B exactly how to make 100 grand in a month. And it's all bollocks.
Yeah.
But they're telling you that that will work. And there's a lot of people that will then go, oh, okay, I'll do that then, rather than the multitude of options that the other guy who sounded sensible was giving me.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just how, especially with TikTok and Instagram is very much going the same way. That is how that works. I think LinkedIn's different because I think it's a professional space.
Yeah.
It's getting to the point where, it might not be for much longer, but I think LinkedIn
There's
is
a
great
lot
for
of,
that.
here's how to make 10K a month
Yes,
at the moment.
exactly,
And
yeah.
it's like, oh, like I get people want to make money, and I get that money talks. All of that's true. It feels really icky talking about grubby, going, here's how to make 10K, because it just feels like grubby. But also it's like, it's actually encouraging. I'm kind of stuck here a little bit because it's encouraging like quick fix, simple answers. But when you dig into those videos of like, how do you actually make 10K? What they've given you is maybe 7 bullet points with no detail. So you know the kind of high level, and you go, wow, that was great. But when it comes to actually doing anything with it, you're stuck.
Where's the substance behind those bullet points?
And I couldn't get my head around this for a long time. Why would somebody engage with a summary with no practical benefit other than, here's how to make 10K, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, all of them being summaries, you can't implement them. And then I realized, and I was like, Dean, you're so fucking stupid. Why did you not realize this? They're telling you the summary because some people will be so hungry that they'll buy the course.
Yeah. Well, people buy outcomes. They don't buy.
No,
hard
but I mean,
work.
like, it's bait. It's like,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Here's how you can make 10K in the next 30 days. Go onto LinkedIn, set up a profile, post content, message your prospects.
Yeah.
What you selling? When do you message them? Like, who do you connect with?
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And then people go, yeah, I want the 10K. I want those bullet points, but I don't know how to do those bullet points. So, $297, you can buy my thing. And then they realize actually they can't do it.
Yeah. I've also seen a lot of people who have that sort of, the 3 steps type videos and stuff. Anything with the list works because people always want to see what's on the end of the list. But I've seen a lot of people that will use that type of format, tell you something that they've been doing for the last 12 months that's made them X amount of money. The reason they're now telling you is because it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
That's massive. And then people will pay them, so they keep making stupid money to learn how they made money. But if they try it, it won't work anymore because algorithms change or trends.
It's a bit like drop shipping. Drop shipping was big for that. Here's how I made money drop shipping. Today, most of the people who make money in drop shipping make money from selling the course on how to do drop shipping.
Exactly.
Like coaches who help coaches become coaches.
Yeah.
Or the one, my favorite, a lot of LinkedIn influencers selling courses to help people become LinkedIn influencers.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had a conversation with somebody the other day. They're spending 10 hours a week on LinkedIn. They bought loads of courses and they've had one client in a year and they're doing all of this work. And I was like, why don't you just talk to people?
Yeah. Just
talk to people. And you can do that in a couple of hours a week and get more out of it. Now, of course, content's good. Yeah. I'm not saying bin all content. But I think sometimes we get so hooked on, if I'm famous, it will all work. And it really isn't true. There's so many influencers who are just peddling, buy a course like me, and using that kind of, what do they call it? FOMO or whatever.
Yeah.
I want that engagement. I want to be like that because that must mean success and that must mean that I'm making lots of money. And then you talk to them behind the scenes and they're making no money.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think, and that happens from like if so, I'm trying to think of someone huge without throwing it under the bus. Someone like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Randomly comes out with a course of this is how to be as successful as I am on social media. Charges $50 for the course. She will make millions doing that.
Yeah.
But that's because she's on the scale she is. If you ask an influencer who's got 500,000 to do exactly the same, margins are far different there. They're not going to make the same money because people are realizing that actually, why would I learn that from you? As much as you're successful.
Did you hear about the Instagram influencer? It's a few years old now, but happens all the time, right? And we get hooked on the numbers and go. I think it's called the halo effect. In other words, if you see everybody else doing well, you must think that they're good. 2 million followers. She decided to launch her own fashion brand, right? So she launched her own t-shirts, custom-made t-shirts. She sold 24. 2 million followers, 24 t-shirts. Like, I can sell more than 24 t-shirts. And it just goes to show that, like, your selfies or your motivational quotes or your little whiteboard quotes or whatever, we look at that externally and go, wow, they must be successful. But behind the scenes, are they actually converting anything? And a lot of them aren't.
But then that's the thing with that kind of content. Why is it relevant? Like if you've got 2 million followers and you're posting motivational quotes, and then you're selling t-shirts, like what's that got to do with anything that you actually do? You just become the motivational quote person.
But it's the same kind of thing. I always say, like, it seems counterintuitive to a lot of people, but if you can't convert or sell anything with 500 people in your network or whatever that are exactly the right people, like, putting 50,000 in is not going to fix that.
No.
If you can't do it with 500, you'll not do it with 50,000. But the logic that's being pumped out is, well, if you get 100,000 views, let's say, right, if you get 500 views and 100 of them are the right people, if you get 50,000 views, then 2,000 or 3,000 might be the right people.
Yeah.
But there's a flaw with that. And I've seen somebody really popular say this. The first thing is it assumes, number one, that you will get 2,000 people if you get 50,000 views. That's the assumption. It's not always true. Second thing is that if you do, what do you have to do to change your content to get the 50,000?
Yeah.
What do you have to water down, broaden out?
Exactly.
What do you have to eliminate, not say? What do you have to do to capture all more people? And if you do that, would they actually see why they need to work with you?
It's unlikely.
So it's not guaranteed. You know, there are people who blow up and make a lot of money. But all the ones I've seen that blow up and make a lot of money are people who've stuck to their topic and blown up in their topic. And we've got an accelerator member. She was as a copywriter, and she decided to tweak, I'm talking about a thing. She tried to tweak to go into AI and help AI people in AI and beginners. And she just knuckled down and talked about it. And she's like everywhere right now.
Yeah.
But she started out and then she went, I'm really going to focus and nail this area. And people are engaging with her, supporting her, backing her. She's getting all of this stuff because she's focused.
Yeah.
And the advice out there, and we see them, is broaden out, and that will work. If you want to be famous, it might work. It doesn't necessarily guarantee making money.
Yeah, 100%. People might know your face, but they don't know the value that you can actually offer them when you kind of just, if you appeal to everyone, you're not actually doing anything for anyone.
So you were originally in electrical wholesale.
I was, yes.
Very exciting. You were in sales, weren't you?
I was, yeah. So I did a graduate role, which, I mean, sales itself, I wouldn't say sales isn't for me. I think it was just the industry's a bit...
you can say it.
A bit old-fashioned, which, some people like that. And there's a lot of tradies, a lot of sparkies who appreciate that. But then I also think there's a a new generation of
Mm.
young lads who are doing these jobs, who are coming through, and they're kind of just taking their businesses off the dad and things like that. And I think there really is a space to, with that sort of industry, to actually take on things like LinkedIn, which is getting there in that industry. It is getting there, because I was doing a lot of the socials for our branch, but it was, there's no budget for marketing. There's nothing. It's kind of, I was a salesman. I did that on the side. That was like a do that when you've got a bit of time. There's no kind of attention that's being given to marketing in that world at all, which, and doesn't necessarily need it if you want to just sort of steady the ship and
I think
bob along.
old school people don't necessarily rate digital relationships the same as real
No,
life
not at
in
all.
person.
Not at all. I think as well, we're doing this job. Like if I've drilled it into them enough that I think they understand, my parents now, what I do for a living. But
So
when
you don't
fir-
think you're just in like a
well,
dossing
well,
now?
this is the thing. When you first tell them, you're like, oh, I'm a content manager. They're like, what? What's that? And I've had conversations with them recently, and obviously been here 6 months now, where someone's asked them what I do, and they're like, I can't really tell you. I don't get it. I don't know.
You know, my dad, like, he's on Facebook, but not brilliantly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there's some conversations. I have actually brought my dad, who's a coal miner, brought him around this building, and he said, "Where do you work?" And I said, "Well, this is my office." "Oh, this is your office in this building?" "No, this is my building." And it's like, and he kind of, not in a negative way, but he kind of looks at me, and you look in his eyes and go, "Dean, when are you going to get a proper job?"
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This
But
is all nonsense. This,
yeah, but
like,
it is. But and I think it always will be. I don't think I don't think sort of the generation above yours, I would say, that I don't think there's no changing that. Like there's
I'm
like
only 15 years older than you. Steady on, steady on.
it's probably actually quite. I mean, they're mine as well. Then I suppose, but it gets to the point where those generations before us, they're so set in their ways that I think the social aspect of social media they're coming round to. Like,
Yeah.
My mum uses Facebook far more than I ever have, and she's on Instagram. TikTok not so much. I mean, TikTok I took some getting used to, so I think that's then the next generation's new thing. Whereas we didn't have
A lot
that.
of people search TikTok now, like Google as well.
Yeah. So I mean, there's all different ways of how people access it, but some people just don't want the app. People have got all sorts of conspiracy theories surrounding TikTok that believe what you want, but it's all a bit crazy what some people think is true.
If the Chinese government need to listen to me,
yeah,
they need to find some better to do with their time.
Far more important things to do than to be looking at what we're posting on TikTok, and that's just a fact. And if they want to be looking at it, then as you say,
it's far scarier how much information Wi-Fi companies have about us than TikTok.
Yeah, but everyone needs that, so people don't complain about it. When it's a nice to have, that's when people obviously start trying to dig it up and look at all the negatives surrounding it. But I think that generation's come around to the social aspect anyway. But in terms of using it and actually, my job is 100% social media. Like, content creation, content management, podcasts, all that sort of stuff. It all stems around social media. And for like my dad, he can't get his head around that. Like,
I think the hard bit is figuring out how does it make money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And a lot of people doing social media are still trying to figure out how it makes money.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, yeah.
But I think the only way to describe it is like, think about Coca-Cola. Like, Coca-Cola is doing all of this advertising, all of this stuff everywhere. Somehow it's got to drop to money. They know what works and what doesn't, and kind of you have to figure out, and we've been figuring out with mine. My Instagram isn't massive, but we're getting inquiries and inbound people saying win, and we get them on LinkedIn all the time. Why? Because we figured out a process of how we sell through all of these channels.
Yeah.
But I don't think people are like that generation haven't captured that in the same way.
Yeah, and I think that's because they see, I mean, a meme or a video or even just a photo, and they think, oh, that's nice. But then it's what goes on behind that. It's the conversations that start because of that meme. Or I think very much, and memes. Obviously, I've been doing a lot with our company page as well, doing a lot of memes, and I think memes are so powerful because rather than giving someone another sales pitch, what you're doing is making them laugh about a pain point they have in their industry, and their guard is immediately dropped.
And there's big money in content when you get it right. I mean, remember the airport saga?
Yes.
Dean's. That must have been like your first month or so here.
It was July, I believe it was.
Yeah, so you're about 6-7 weeks in.
Yeah.
And I send you a message saying, I'm going to just ride with something here, just keep an eye out for something. And literally that in one day, we went viral on TikTok, viral on Twitter, and I ended up on national television.
Yeah,
all in
multiple
one day.
times, yeah.
Yeah. I sold one of my videos for $600 off that. And all of my content, all the images that I took were ended up in all the national papers. And kind of, if you get that bit right, you can make a lot of money off the secondary market of reselling videos, which is crazy that people can, because obviously a publisher goes, we want to use that on our social media. Oh, we have to pay to use it. Yeah. Because once you get a hit on a piece of content, you get a hit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's modern day journalism. That's what it's all about. And obviously, we were in the you were in the unfortunate position. I was in the fortunate position of you being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Being trapped in Gatwick Airport for 7 hours and then going viral twice and on national news kind of made up for the 7 hours.
Swings and roundabouts, I suppose. But yeah, I
didn't look very good though after being in an airport for 7 hours and then going live on Sky News.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You probably would have worn something more TV appropriate rather than airport appropriate. But that's such is the nature of the beast when you're reacting to things that happen unexpectedly. But then that's all the world was talking about. Just for context, it was obviously when the Microsoft went down and all flights were grounded pretty much globally, and obviously, because when something that big happens, it's all anyone cares about for the next 12 hours. So it would have been silly for us to put out regular content about how to get leads on LinkedIn because no one gave a crap for that day. It was all about that. It was also, I believe, a Friday, which always, I think, in the world of social selling, Friday itself is content. It's Friday. Let's post about it being Friday. So it's always a bit of a day for engagement content rather than actually anything with any substance. So to have that kick off on a Friday, and it was just like a perfect storm of you were obviously there and getting these interviews and things, and we had the footage from Sky News, and people were just searching for it constantly. So we were just putting up, I think, 4 or 5 videos in one day, and they all got stupid views.
Boom.
Yeah, but you couldn't miss because it was about something that was essentially on fire there and then, and everyone wanted to watch it.
So just as we wrap up here, right, what's the weirdest thing that you've seen on social media in the last 6 months?
Do you mean apart from your cucumber video?
Apart from the cucumber video.
Apart from the cucumber video.
That was a bad idea.
I just like that it's immortalised on social media forever. I'm fond of that. But
that was me trying to be like a bit risque.
Is that not the answer? Just like the context of that kind of thing. There's a guy who makes a living, gets millions of views and millions of followers
from cucumbers,
from just making recipes with cucumbers.
But I think there's a really good lesson in that though, because like when I do stuff, I often think, how do I say something new or do something like fresh? And if you look at all of the people who've done really well online, they've just doubled down on one thing. Like I would kill for his level of engagement and followers, like kill for it. But all he does is recipes about cucumbers. Yeah. And if he could sell those recipes or, he could probably monetize, well, he is making money off the back of the videos, but he could probably make a killing selling stuff about cucumbers.
Because he's got the following, right? People are obviously interested in what you can do with a million different ways. with cucumbers.
You stopped yourself then.
I did, yeah. But it's the same, it's transferable. If you look at Mr. Beast, he has one thing. He gives people money. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
If you want to condense it down into one sentence, that's what he does.
Well, he's not so popular at the moment, is he? Because he's been.
Well, he's got this new show coming out soon, which is like some form of game show where he just gives loads of people money. We've all seen it before in multiple different formats, but it's the same thing, giving people money. And he's the most successful content creator on planet Earth by a mile.
Yeah. So the weirdest thing is the cucumbers.
Yes, yeah. Or I would say that kind of the weirdest thing is seeing just how niche you can be and remain successful.
Yeah.
Or become successful because of it. I think that's the thing that's mind-blowing, that you can just talk about one thing that you would assume no one has any interest in, but there's a market for everything within reason.
I think, though, the cucumber videos, you watch one and you go, well, I'm not that into cucumbers, but you watch one of those videos and you go, that looks quite good.
Yeah.
And you can go away and try it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of got something that they can take away and do whilst also being interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think, but then also for someone like yourself and for me, I'd get hooked on that kind of video because my brain goes to, how has that got so many views? Like, how does this work? And that becomes in itself an interesting point.
What I end up doing is scrolling back to like, where did it change?
Yeah, what was the moment that
made
like
what's the before and after? So looking at like, what did he do when he got his first million or when he got his first 10,000 or whatever? What was the difference? Because I think you can learn more. I want to have a little rant with you before we finish. If you scroll back to somebody's history and you go, what were they doing before, what they were doing after? I think that's a better lesson than actually trying to copy what they're doing now.
100%.
Because I found this, like I did an experiment, do you remember, where I literally almost word for word copied some influencers' posts to see if I could replicate their, viral success, and tried to do it as close as possible as an experiment and could not replicate it.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that if you're a small account on any platform, there's some things you have to do to get out of that space. And once you're out of that, you can do a whole lot more stuff. Like almost it's easier to get something to go viral if you've built a large following, because it's just easier. You could do like Stephen Bartlett puts a motivational quote up and goes, "Love heart," bang.
Yeah.
Because he's got that momentum behind him that people love what he does, even if it's basic. But if I did the same quote with a love heart, it might be 30 likes.
Yeah. And a few comments of, are
what
you
the
okay?
Hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is this kind of like, if you try and replicate what somebody's doing when it's flying, it's almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
You're better looking back to the pivot point and learning the lessons of where it changed.
Exactly, because you've obviously those people have then laid years of foundation of what's then after that point they've realised, okay, that's what works, and then they've done thousands of hours of content to actually get to the point where they can just do that love heart with a motivational quote. So if you just sort of copy what they're doing, as you say, it's kind of like you're not putting in the groundwork that gets you to that freedom to be able to post anything and it be successful.
Well, Tom, I'm sorry, the drink is shocking.
Yeah, I have only had the sip to try it so far.
I've had a few sips just because we've been talking for quite a bit, but I'm not going to finish this. I'm literally going to pour it down the sink.
Yeah,
because it's not great.
Mine might follow yours, to be honest, but
I like this new format, actually.
Yeah.
Hopefully people listening and watching will like the new format. We talk about a lot of different things. Hopefully there's some useful shit in here.
Yes, yeah, we'll have to dig that out somewhere.
But I think it's a better format than the interview style that I've been doing.
I think it's more engaging. I think this kind of content, and everyone's got a podcast now. We know this. Everyone who has any form of platform has a podcast, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a world now where long form content is almost as popular as short form, which is crazy because it takes so much longer for people to actually consume it. But I'm an avid podcast listener, so I suppose a few ideas for this format came from other podcasts and things like that. But I think this kind of conversational stuff is much more engaging for people than kind of a lecture kind of style, which that's how I consume content. And I think if you look at who's successful in the podcast world, that's I think how it goes. So yeah, hopefully it does. We see an upturn in people who are watching and listening and enjoying. That's obviously the
subscribe.
Yes, yeah, please do, please do.
Yeah, cool. Tom, thank you for coming on and being the first one in the new format.
First of many, I hope.
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, thank you very much.